Look around you. Incompetent leaders, a society obsessed with shadows and lies, a political system that feels less like a search for truth and more like a popularity contest. You might think this is a modern problem, but 2,400 years ago, a man named Plato predicted exactly where we would end up. He saw the cracks in democracy before it even truly began. In his masterpiece, The Republic, he didn't just diagnose the sickness of our society. He gave us the cure. But be warned, his solution is radical. It requires you to question everything you think you know about freedom. So, how do we build a perfect world? It starts by asking one dangerous question. What is justice? Plato opens the Republic in a place that feels normal, a conversation. No grand speeches, no marble throne politics, no dramatic battlefield, just Socrates sitting with the other Athenians and letting one question quietly light the fuse. What is justice? It sounds like the kind of word everyone already understands. People use it like a weapon, like a badge, like a shield. A judge claims it, a government promises it, a citizen demands it. Yet the moment Socrates asks for a clear definition, the room starts slipping. One answer comes fast. Justice means telling the truth and paying what you owe. Simple, clean. The kind of rule that keeps society from turning into chaos. Socrates doesn't accept it. He pushes a real scenario into the middle of the table. If a friend lends you a weapon, then later comes back in a violent rage demanding it, handing it over would be giving what you owe. And also a disaster. So, the definition breaks the second it touches real life. Another idea follows. Justice means helping your friend and harming your enemies. That one sounds heroic, like something a proud city would teach its sons. Socrates squeezes it again. People make mistakes about who their friends are. They misjudge enemies. And a just person, by nature, should make people better, not worse. If harming someone makes them more unjust, then justice can't be built on harm. The conversation keeps tightening because he isn't hunting for a clever quote. He's exposing a serious problem. If justice is the foundation of a good life in a stable society, then guessing its meaning is dangerous. A city that can't define justice ends up calling power justice, calling revenge justice, calling tradition justice, and calling whatever benefits them today justice. Once he shows how slippery justice becomes in conversation, he doesn't let Socrates stay trapped in definitions forever. Socrates changes the strategy. If justice is hard to spot inside one person, then scale it up. Look at it in something bigger. So, he builds the city. Not with bricks and walls, but with logic. He starts with the simplest truth about human life. No one survives alone. People need food, shelter, clothing, and tools. One person farms, another builds, another makes shoes. A city begins as teamwork, with everyone doing the job they're best suited for. He even makes this early version sound almost peaceful. A small community, modest desires, stable routines. Then, someone points out the problem. Human beings rarely stay satisfied with enough. Soon, the city wants comfort, better meals, softer beds, decorations, entertainment, luxury. And the moment luxury enters, the city grows hungry in a new way. It needs more land to produce more goods. It needs more resources to keep feeding those desires. Expansion stops being optional. That's where conflict becomes inevitable. A city that expands runs into other cities. Borders tighten, tensions rise. If the people want more, someone has to protect it. So Socrates introduces a new class, guardians. Not merchants, not farmers, not craftsmen. Soldiers trained to defend the whole system. And he makes the point quietly but clearly. The city didn't start with war in mind. War shows up as a consequence of desire. The more the population chases comfort, the more the city needs force to protect what it has and take what it lacks. So now justice isn't just a personal virtue. It's a design problem. A city needs structure strong enough to hold people together when appetites start pulling them apart. And from here, his question gets sharper. If guardians are going to carry weapons for the city, Who is going to guard the guardians? The moment Plato introduces guardians, the whole conversation changes temperature. This is where the Republic stops feeling like a friendly debate and starts sounding like a blueprint for control. Because a guardian can't be an ordinary soldier. Plato's ideal guardian needs two traits that usually don't live in the same body. He has to be fierce towards enemies, yet gentle towards his own people. Brave in battle, calm in the streets, loyal under pressure, not easily bribed, not easily flattered, not easily tempted. Socrates compares them to a well-bred watchdog, a dog that attacks strangers who threaten the home yet recognizes its own family instantly. It's a strange comparison, but it makes the point land. The guardian must be trained to react with precision, not emotion. And he immediately asks the real question: how do you create people like that? His answer is simple and terrifying. You start young. You shape the mind before it hardens. The first battlefield is not a war zone. It's the stories children grow up hearing. He treats myths like training tools. If kids grow up worshiping heroes who lie, cheat, panic, and act selfishly, then those habits become normal. If they hear stories that glorify greed, cruelty, or weak self-control, the city will eventually produce leaders who behave the same way. So, he demands strict supervision of poetry and storytelling, not because he hates art, but because he understands its power. Stories teach people to admire long before they learn how to argue. Then comes physical training. Discipline in the body supports discipline in the soul. He wants guardians who can endure hunger, discomfort, and fear without collapsing into impulse. This is the ruthless part. The city survives only if the guardians are built for duty, not pleasure. And once he locks that in, he pushes the next question forward. If guardians are trained to protect the city, what kind of education keeps them from turning their strength into domination? Plato treats education like the operating system of a human being, not a stack of facts you memorize, not a diploma you hang on a wall. Education, in the Republic, is the force that decides what a person loves, what they fear, and what they obey. That's why he cares so much about the Guardians' training. These people will carry the city on their shoulders, so their minds can't be left to chance. The first stage is music and poetry, meaning the rhythms, stories, and values that sink into a child before they even understand what they're learning. He believes the soul takes shape through repeated exposure. If the Guardians grow up hearing constant tales of weakness, excess, or moral collapse, their instincts will follow that pattern. If they grow up surrounded by discipline, courage, and self-control, those traits start to feel natural. Then comes physical training, not for vanity, but for steadiness. He wants bodies that obey the mind, not bodies that drag the mind around like a stubborn animal. He's building people who can endure discomfort without becoming reckless or bitter. As the Guardians mature, education shifts again. He introduces mathematics and structured reasoning because he wants minds that can handle truth without being thrown off balance by emotion. Numbers don't flatter you. Geometry doesn't care about your pride. This kind of learning forces the mind to follow reality instead of desire, and eventually, he aims them toward dialectic, the skill of questioning deeply, spotting contradictions, and refusing to accept shallow answers. Dialectic is dangerous in the wrong hands, so he treats it like a weapon that only disciplined people should touch. The goal of this entire system is not intelligence for its own sake, it's character. A guardian should become the kind of person who stays stable when the crowd panics, who stays honest when lying would be easier, who stays controlled when the power becomes available. He is quietly building a terrifying standard. The city rises or falls depending on what it trains people to admire. After he builds the city, trains the guardians, and designs the education system, one problem remains sitting in the center like a loaded weapon. Who rules? Plato doesn't trust the answer most societies default to. He has no interest in the loudest speaker, the richest family, or the person with the most supporters chanting their name. In the Republic, leadership is not treated as a prize you win. It's treated as a responsibility that can destroy a city if it lands in the wrong hands. So, he introduces his most famous idea, the Philosopher King. The philosopher, in his world, is someone obsessed with truth. not gossip, not appearances, not whatever gets applause. Truth. He wants rulers who can see beyond the surface and understand what is actually good for the whole city, even when the answer is unpopular. He describes philosophers as lovers of wisdom, people who keep learning because their minds are pulled towards reality itself. They don't just collect opinions, they chase understanding. That's why he believes they're the only ones fit to rule. Everyone else is too easily distracted by money, status, or pleasure. And he pushes the idea further. The best ruler won't crave power. A person who is desperate to rule is often chasing something personal: control, attention, revenge, ego. He thinks a true philosopher would rather live quietly than fight for authority. So, if you want the city to survive, you have to train the best minds, then persuade them to lead out of duty. That's the strange twist. The ideal ruler governs like a reluctant surgeon. He doesn't enjoy cutting. He does it because someone has to. His city needs a leader who can carry power without being corrupted by it. And the moment you accept that standard, a darker question appears. How do you keep the whole population loyal to a system built on discipline and truth? You see, after building an ideal city with disciplined guardians and philosopher rulers, he introduces something that sounds completely out of place: a useful lie. In the Republic, Socrates proposes a founding myth meant to hold the city together. It's often called the noble lie, and the idea is simple. If people believe they share a common origin and a natural role, they'll fight less, envy less, and obey the structure that keeps the city stable. The myth says that citizens were all formed from the earth of the city itself, making them like siblings born from the same ground. Then it adds the second layer. Each person has a kind of metal in their soul. Gold for those who are meant to rule, silver for the guardians, and bronze or iron for the producers who farm, build, and trade. His message is not subtle. A society needs unity, and unity is fragile. People compare themselves constantly. They resent status. They chase positions they haven't trained for. So the myth becomes a social glue. It tells citizens that their role isn't a punishment. It's part of the natural order of the city. He even leaves room for movement. A child born into one class might have a different medal, so the city should place them where they fit best. That detail matters because he wants the system to look fair, not frozen. This is where the Republic starts to feel dangerous. He is showing that even an ideal society may depend on belief management. A city can be built on reason, yet still require a story powerful enough to shape loyalty. And once that door opens, the question changes again. If societies rely on myths to stay stable, what happens when the myths collapse and the crowd starts chasing freedom without discipline? Plato doesn't treat political systems like proud achievements. He treats them like living creatures. They rise, they mature, they weaken, and they collapse. In the Republic, Socrates lays out a sequence of regimes, each one shaped by a different kind of soul, each one carrying the seed of its own destruction. The first is the best case, rule by the wise and disciplined, the kind of city he spent the whole book designing. Over time, that balance slips. The rulers begin to value honor and victory more than wisdom. This produces a democracy, a society driven by pride, competition, and military spirit. Then the hunger shifts again. Wealth takes the crown. An oligarchy forms, where the rich hold power and the poor are shut out. He describes this as a divided city, split into two hostile camps living side by side, one wealthy, one struggling. Stability becomes fragile because money has replaced virtue as the main measurement of worth. From that pressure comes democracy. He describes democracy as a system where freedom becomes the highest good. People live as they please. Authority weakens. Rules become negotiable. Every lifestyle is treated as equal. Every desire is given room to speak. It looks attractive because it feels open and colorful, like a marketplace of identities. His warning is that democracy carries a specific weakness. When people treat freedom as the ultimate goal, discipline starts to look like oppression. Expertise starts to look like arrogance. Restraint starts to look like weakness, And in that environment, leaders learn a dangerous skill, telling the crowd whatever it wants to hear. Eventually, the city grows exhausted. Too many voices, too many factions, too much instability. The public starts craving a single figure who promises order and protection. He says that figure rises as a champion of the people, then turns into something far worse. That is how tyranny is born, from the chaos of unchecked freedom, shaped into control by a man who knows exactly how to feed the crowd's appetite. Then, after the city, the education, the rulers, the myths, and the collapse of governments, Socrates offers one image that explains the entire human problem in a single scene. Plato asks you to imagine people chained from birth, facing a wall. They can't turn their heads. They can't see behind them. All they ever see are shadows moving across the stone. Behind them, a fire burns. Between the fire and the prisoners, other people carry objects. And the shadow of those objects becomes the prisoner's whole reality. To the prisoners, those shadows are life. They name them. They argue about them. They build status around who can predict which shadow comes next. Their world feels complete because it's all they've ever known. Then, one prisoner gets freed. At first, he doesn't feel enlightened. He feels pain. His eyes resist the light. He stumbles. He wants to go back to what's familiar. When he's forced to look towards the fire, he realizes the shadows were never the real thing. Then he's dragged outside the cave entirely, and the truth becomes overwhelming. The sun, the sky, the real world. A reality bigger than anything he could have imagined. His point is brutal. Most people don't live in truth. They live in the comfort of what they're used to seeing. And the final twist is the hardest part. The freed prisoner returns to the cave, trying to explain what he saw. His eyes struggle in the darkness again. He looks confused. He sounds insane. The prisoners laugh at him. He says they may even turn violent, because truth threatens the only reality they trust. Plato's warning is clear. The price of apathy is to be ruled by evil men. The Republic isn't just a blueprint for the city. It's a blueprint for your mind. You can build that city inside yourself. You can refuse to live in the shadows. You can choose to be the philosopher king of your own life, rather than a prisoner watching shadows on the wall. The question isn't whether society will wake up. It's whether you will. If you want to escape the cave, subscribe.